Okay, today's ERQ is the theme of Coyote and the Hen and Anansi the Spider is trying to trick others can lead to you getting tricked as well. There are three parts to this ERQ. So A is identify the events in Coyote and the Hen that lead to this theme. B, identify the events in Anansi the Spider that lead to this theme. And C, compare and contrast how the events in the two fables lead to this theme. So before I start answering this ERQ, I want to go over the point values for each part. A is going to be worth 1 point, and this is because the A is wanting you to maybe tell one or two events that happen in our story that lead to the theme of trying to trick others can lead to you getting tricked as well. B, since it's essentially the same as A, just with our different folktale, is going to also be worth 1 point. And then C, compare and contrast how the events in the two fables lead to this theme. This one's going to be worth 2 points. You're going to get 1 point from talking about a similarity between the two folktales, and another point by talking about a difference between the two folktales. Making sure that we're talking about how the events, the ones that we're going to be writing for A and B, how they might have something in common and how they will have a difference as well that lead to this theme. Okay, so I'm going to start with A. Identify the events in Coyote and the Hen that lead to this theme. So what I need to be thinking about is, with this theme, where in the story does a character learn something about trying to trick somebody also causes them to get tricked as well? So if I go back into the text for Coyote and the Hen, I learn that Coyote is trying to lie or trying to trick Hen to come down from her tree because he's hungry. So I learned Coyote's very hungry. He thinks Hen would make a tasty meal, but how could he reach her? So he gets an idea. So here's his idea of how he's going to try and trick Hen. So he tries to persuade her to come down by telling that there's a peace treaty that's been signed by all the animals, meaning that they'll get along so they can all be friends. And then immediately Hen kind of doesn't believe what he's saying, so she ends up not coming down. There's the part of trying to trick others. So he's trying to trick her. So now I need to look for in the text where does it show me that Coyote is ending up going to be tricked as well. So Hen says she knew what Coyote was up to and says, but I see someone else coming, and it's Dog. And we learn that Coyote is scared of Dog, and so because he has heard the news of this treaty that Hen now knows is not true, Dog is coming down, and so Coyote grumbles, oh, never mind, and took off running as fast as he could. So I need to now put these events kind of in my own words to show how someone was trying to trick somebody else, and that ended up with them getting tricked as well. So I'm going to use wrap to answer my ERQ, and so I need to remember to restate my question. So I'm going to use some of the words in A to help me restate with my question. So identify the events in Coyote and the Hen. And it says events, so I'm going to try and say at least 2, maybe even 3. So I'm going to start by saying one event in Coyote and the Hen that leads to the theme, and make sure this is the theme that they've identified for this story. So I'm not going to try and come up with my own. I'm going to make sure I stay with this theme. I also don't need to rewrite it because it's already up there. So one event in Coyote and the Hen, I need to underline my title, that leads to this theme is that, okay, I'm going to start writing when in the story is somebody beginning to try and trick somebody else, and I know that that was Coyote. So is that Coyote tries to trick Hen into coming down from her branch so that he can eat her. Okay. There I have an event that's talking about trying to trick others, but now I need an event that talks about how trying to trick others can lead to this person who tricked here to getting tricked as well. So I already underlined in the text that Hen sees what Coyote is up to and tricks him into thinking that Dog is coming to celebrate, and I'm putting that in quotes because we know they're not really going to be celebrating this treaty. This causes Coyote to run away because he's afraid of Dog. Okay, so I wrapped, I restated, I answered all parts. Now I just need I know this because of my prove it. So I found evidence of someone or something trying to trick others, and then they ended up getting tricked themselves. So I actually found evidence in all 3 paragraphs. So I found this evidence in paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm ready for B. So this is now the same concept, except now I'm doing with Anansi the spider. So identify the events in Anansi the spider that lead to this theme. So I can begin wrapping the same way I did with A. So I'll say one event in Anansi the spider that leads to this theme is, and again, I need to think, okay, in Anansi the spider, what is happening where someone is trying to trick somebody else, and that leads them to getting tricked as well. So if I go into my text, we learn right away that Anansi is a famous trickster, okay? And we know that he's sitting down for a meal, and he has a turtle that knocks on his door, and he's tired, and he asks to join for his meal. We learn that Anansi didn't wish to share his meal with anybody, and so he persuades and almost tricks Turtle into going and washing his hands repeatedly because he says that they're dirty. So right here he says, "Come in, I suppose I must share my dinner with you, but first you must wash your filthy hands." Okay, we know that turtles walk on their hands, so of course they're going to be dirty. And so Turtle agrees, and then he goes and washes them. But he's coming back, his hands are wet, and so his hands are still dirty. So the purpose of this is Anansi is tricking Turtle to go wash his hands for the purpose of Anansi being able to eat all of the food, because he didn't want to share to begin with Turtle. Okay, so there's the part of trying to trick somebody else. So he ends up tricking Turtle, so he gets to eat all the food. But then how does this lead to him getting tricked as well? So towards the end of our story, Turtle kind of gives him a taste of his own medicine because he invites Anansi to have dinner with him, and he tells Anansi it's not polite to eat with your coat on, so you must take it off. But we learn that Anansi had put stones in his pocket to make himself heavier and sink down to Turtle's home. So when Turtle told him to take it off, Anansi floated up to the surface, and he watched Tricky Turtle, there we have Tricky again, finish his meal. So again, these are kind of a lot of events, so I want to kind of just narrow down what happens where somebody tries to trick another character and that character gets tricked as well. So one event in Anansi the Spider that leads to this theme is that Anansi tricks Turtle into washing his hands before being able to join him for dinner because he didn't want to share his meal. Also, by the time Turtle returns, Anansi had already eaten all the dinner. Okay, so there's an event that's discussing how some character was trying to trick another. So now I need to wrap up with then how does this lead to this same character who did the tricking getting tricked themselves? Okay, and so from the text we said that Turtle invited Anansi over for dinner. Anansi put stones in his pockets to make him sink. Turtle tricks Anansi into taking his coat off to where he floats to the surface, and then Turtle gets to eat his meal, so he kind of gave Anansi a taste of his own medicine. So, we'll say Turtle invites Anansi over for dinner to give him a taste of his own medicine. Turtle tricks Anansi by telling him to take off his coat, which causes him to float away from his dinner. Turtle eats all of the dinner. Okay, I just need to show where I found this information, and again, I found this evidence in essentially paragraphs 2, 3, 4, and 5. I found the information in paragraphs 3, 4, and 5. All right, this leads me to my last part. Compare and contrast. So find a similarity in these events that I have already laid out that have led to the theme. How the events in the two fables lead to the theme. So I want to find a similarity in both of the events that I wrote down that lead to our characters learning that tricking others can lead to you getting tricked as well. So one of the things that I noticed in both stories is that both involve a character trying to trick another one, which leads to them getting tricked themselves. So we have Anansi tricking Turtle, and then Turtle tricks him back. And then we have Coyote trying to trick Hen, and then Hen tricks him back. So I'm going to say compare and contrast. So I could say one similarity between the two folktales is, or I could say one way to compare the events between the two folktales is. So I'm just going to, I always like to use similarity. So I'm going to say one similarity between the two folk tales is that both stories have or involve who trick another character and they are tricked back. Okay, so now I need one difference. So one difference between the two folktales is, so one thing I noticed with how the stories went on is that in Anansi and the Spider, both Turtle and Anansi are tricked. Anansi tricks Turtle first, then it works, and then Turtle tricks Anansi back, and it works. So both characters succeed in tricking the other. However, in Coyote and the Hen, Coyote tries to trick Hen, but it doesn't work. He tries to trick her to come down from her branch, but she doesn't. But Hen does trick him back. So only one character in Coyote and the Hen succeeds in following and actually being able to trick the other character. So I'm going to put that in my own words and just kind of shorten it. So one difference between the two folktales is that in Anansi the Spider, both Turtle and Anansi trick one another. But in Coyote and the Hen, Hen is the only one. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to come out of the lines here. Hen is the only one who tricks. Coyote tries, but Hen doesn't fall for it. Alright, so this was kind of a long one. I probably could have shortened B a little bit to making it a little more short and sweet, kind of like A was. Otherwise, we have wrapped, we have answered all parts, and we've gotten all of our points. So based on our ERQ here, this would be considered a 4.